happy Monday. Welcome back to the channel. This is the second video detailing the development of my as yet untitled feature film. This week I thought I would go over my process as a writer and how I first and foremost come up with ideas. I wanted to bring you inside how I use inspiration, how I formulate the concepts I want to explore, and then how I get those concepts from my mind down onto paper in a way that I can work on them further. If you missed last week's video, my concept for this year is to make another feature film, but one that uses a smaller budget, less moving pieces, and hopefully that translates into more creative freedom. So I started putting down the different things that I wanted to explore in this film, things that I've always wanted to explore in my work and have never really got the chance to in the kind of films I've made up to this point. Not because I didn't want to, but because I was sticking much closer to a kind of typical genre Hollywood formula, because I needed to raise money, because I needed to get distribution. And this time around, I want to do something much more freeform and generally more experimental. So one of the things that I really enjoy when I see in films is altered states of consciousness. Not necessarily like intoxication or drugs, which don't really interest me, but sort of heightened states of consciousness. I remember seeing the first Terminator as a kid, and when you got to be in Terminator's eyes and see the readout and the data of what the robot was seeing and how they were processing it, I really enjoyed that jump in perspective. In a more contemporary sense, the video game Cyberpunk 2077 has this attribute you can unlock called Sandevistan, which makes everyone else move slower while you still are able to move at normal speed, and they see you moving at super speed. I've played this game a lot and I really enjoy this sort of altered take on reality. It reminds me a lot of how bats use their sonar and send out faster and faster scans as they get closer and closer to their prey. The altered states of being tie into something else I want to explore, which is the supernatural. There is a really interesting conceit or trope in a lot of films where you're in the position of the detective or the protagonist, and they're faced with a mystery or trying to solve some kind of crime, and the facts don't add up. Like the situation goes beyond a normal reality, and you're, as the viewer, in the same position as they are, trying to see if there's some possible way that this could have been done artificially, or if you're actually in a world of the supernatural, of magic, of werewolves, of vampires. One of my favorite uses of this was in the first Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, where Mark Strong is this villain who claims to be supernatural, and Sherlock seems totally bamboozled how he could have accomplished the crime, but at the last moment reveals that it's not supernatural at all, but actually a new technology. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And as our society develops and technology advances, we're often put in this place where we're trying to work out how something could have been done, but we lack the understanding of what technology's potential is. That gap in our reality is something that I think film explores really well. Another thing that I'd like to explore in this script, and I don't know if all of these will make it in it, but these are things that have been on my mind for a long time and I haven't had a chance to really write about, is loneliness. And not just loneliness of being alone, but loneliness of feeling as though you're the last of your kind. I touched on this a little bit in the web series I made called Silent City, especially in the trailer that I did for Kickstarter, where the guy was facing this idea that he had outlived his own civilization in sort of a post-apocalyptic sense. I think anyone that's creative and works in a land of dreams has experienced that idea that they can see something that no one else can. And it's a loneliness that can be isolating, but also sort of beautiful. So they're the three things that I'm going to sort of riff off as I come up with the concept for this script. Altered states of being, the kind of intersection of magic and technology, and a sense of cultural isolation. How I like to work on stories generally is come up with a choice that the main character is faced with, sort of the decisive moment of the film where they have a really difficult choice between two different life paths or two different ways of being, and both of them seem impossible. I think those choices are what powers a film and that makes a film interesting. Once I know what that big choice is going to be, I then go back through the character's journey and sort of make choices and put things in front of them that are going to lead them to that decisive moment, so that the choice doesn't feel manufactured, but it feels organic. And then for the other characters of the script, I go about creating people who have made the different choices that lead character is going to be faced with and have turned out in different ways. So they sort of act as living examples and living both temptations and warnings to the character. I mean, discussing it in this way all sounds very abstract. When you actually get into the writing sort of goes from one word to the next. You just sort of have these things in the back of your head, and they sort of act as a destination for your journey. But the journey itself is often a very meandering thing where you follow the demands of the moment. This time around, I'm also interested in producing less than a 90-page script. So I'll come up with a 50 or 60-page shooting script, and then once I've started shooting, I'll add scenes or rewrite scenes as I go. I have always been fascinated with Francis Ford Coppola's process on Apocalypse Now, where he was writing, shooting, and sort of like making his path as he went, reacting to the scenes that they'd shot, reacting to how the characters develop. And I don't want to put myself through the, hell that he had on Apocalypse Now, but I think that a little bit of that, having the leeway and having the freedom to write as you shoot, could be a really good thing for this film and for me as a filmmaker. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you all the people who commented last week that they wanted to be part of this process and follow along. I've put a link in the description where you can actually sign up for a newsletter that I'll send out so that you don't miss these videos, and I can actually send out the treatment and the draft of the script as I go about it. Also, all the other things that go into making a film. So if you want to keep tabs on this project, click the link in the description and sign up for the updates. More regular content coming up. I have a couple of lens reviews. I have a trip to Cuba that I'm excited to share in Destination Film. So hope everyone else's filmmaking in 2024 is off to a good start. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.